Hi, I'm Amber with Mama Simply, and I'm going to be sharing with you today the homeschool curriculum that I use for my kids, and I'm going to be sharing with you what worked during our school year, where we've wrapped up the school year, and I'm going to share with you everything that worked, as well as some examples of some other curriculum that I used that did not work at all, and I will be talking to you about why that is. And I'm also going to share with you what my plan is for next year. And I am homeschooling 7 students next year. I currently have a student going into 11th grade, a student going into 8th grade, a student going into 6th, 4th, 2nd, a kindergartner, a preschooler, and also a toddler running around. So my big things are, I need my curriculum to be simplified. I need it to be very simple. I really don't have time for a lot of busy work, and I need at a certain point for my kids to be able to do things independently with me guiding them and assisting them. So some of the choices that I'm using may not work for you in your homeschool, but this is curriculum that I have used that I really enjoy and have found works best for us. So I'm going to start off with My Father's World, Rome to the Reformation. And this is a all-in-one family style learning, all the way from if you only have one child, you can start them in 3rd grade, 3rd or 4th. Otherwise, if you have multiple children, you can start them in 2nd grade all the way up to 8th. And so that's what I'm doing because I have multiple students. So I used Rome to the Reformation this year. I have used My Father's World fairly consistently throughout our homeschool journey. There have been years that I did not use it, and we've just always gone back to it. The things that I really love about it is open and go, and it has everything planned out for you. And there have been seasons in life when I have not been able to have the bandwidth of creating my own curriculum and coming up with things, and I just needed everything done for me. Now, over the years, I have made some modifications, so I'm going to talk to you about those, but by and large, we stuck to this curriculum as is for this year with a couple modifications. Now, next year, I am in a different place, and with having so many students, I am looking to simplify a little bit, and I'm going to share with you here towards the end of the video what my next year's curriculum looks like. But My Father's World, Rome to the Reformation. And one of the other things that I love about this curriculum is they recommend living books and a lot of read alouds, hands-on, kind of a Charlotte Mason influence. And that really aligns with my teaching style and what works for me. So Rome to the Reformation was my main teacher's guide. And let me see. I had a 1st grader this past year. And so with her, I used the 1st grade curriculum, Learning God's Story. This again is an all-in-one, and everything is planned out for you. I like that it has a really good foundation in phonics and getting them off to a really good start with reading. It is gentle, but I do feel like the kids that have gone through it, this was really, really important to helping them learn how to read. And the kids that I did not use it have had struggles, and I've tried various curriculums, and this is the one that I've gone back to. So I really recommend this one for teaching kids how to read. It does have other activities, very hands-on, but I generally, aside from learning how to read and a couple adaptations, my daughter sat through Rome to the Reformation, and they would just, my younger kids would just listen as we were doing the history and the science. So I did a few things with her extra, but not really anything special. While I'm on first grade, I used Math with Confidence for my daughter. This is a very teacher-led curriculum, and so it has a lot of manipulatives. I really like that it walks through all of the math concepts and explains them incrementally. I like that it has review. It does use a spiral approach, but a rather tight spiral. And so I like the review aspect. I like that it has the manipulatives, and my daughter really, really enjoyed this. She did use the workbook that accompanies this. I did not do all of the games and everything that was recommended in here, but I still felt that it was very, very effective, and I plan on using this with my kids for next year, continuing with that. I have a preschooler last year, and for him I used More Before 5 in a Row. I absolutely adore this curriculum. It is so much fun for the littles covering this. You read a story 5 days in a row, hence 5 in a row, and you talk about different elements in the story, and you talk about it in terms of their age. And it could be science, could be a history, it could be things, colors, different things. I absolutely love this program. I love the books that were picked for it. So I absolutely enjoy that one so much as my favorite preschool curriculum. Now for the older kids, third grade, I had a third grader last year. Third grade on up used, this is Learning Language Arts Through Literature. And this was my first year trying this out. I have tried multiple other language arts programs. One of the things that I really needed this year was to simplify. I just really, really hate having so many different books. And there's books for grammar, and then you can have like reading lists, and you can have a spelling book, and then you can have handwriting, and just it's too many moving pieces. And even if you have a couple kids and they each have 5 separate consumable workbooks, and then all of the grading and checking it over, and it's too much, and then stuff gets missed, and I felt that there were a lot of holes that were occurring. And so I found this last year. I will be continuing with this year. It covers spelling, vocabulary, grammar, reading, penmanship, creative writing, higher order thinking skills. I really loved it, and all of the books that were recommended for them to read, and all of the I must have skipped. Oh, this is the teacher's guide. That's why. I was like, wait, I know he did this. All of the books, Alice Adventures in Wonderland, what else? St. George and the Dragon, Mother Goose, all of those books, really just absolutely adore those books. And the handwriting in here, I don't feel that was sufficient, but it's a nice review. And so I did add a handwriting for my son, and then he also did the handwriting in here because that was a little bit minimal. But everything else I felt really was very well covered for my third grader, as well as my, at the time last year, I had a third grader, a fifth grader, and a seventh grader. Another element of My Father's World is they recommend God in the History of Art. I love art history. I have the set. My kids do not. They don't like it. They were not interested in doing any of the lessons. And so for my kids third grade and up who were in the program, I switched this to draw and write through history. And this, because we talked about Rome to the Reformation and medieval times last year, just a couple times a month I would pull this out and they would practice their handwriting, and then they would also do the drawing from the picture, and I would make sure that it went along with whatever we were talking about, and it walks them step by step through how to draw the picture. And we talked about a couple elements, shading. I have some kids that are more interested than others, but I do feel like we covered that and the handwriting all in one for my kids that knew cursive. And that is one thing about the draw and write through history that I really like, is it does use the cursive. So third grade on up did this for their art, and I plan on continuing that next year. This year I also switched us to teaching textbooks for math, and teaching textbooks starts at third grade. So my third grader on up used this, and I really felt like it took the math piece off my plate. They did do this on the computer, and some people don't like that, don't like the computer aspect. I like that it grades everything. It has the lecture, it explains everything, it tells them when they have gotten something incorrect. It really helps taking the grading and the teaching aspect off of my shoulders. One thing that people do complain is they feel that this does come, it's a little slower, that students take a while to be able to have their math as advanced as they would like. I don't necessarily know that I have seen that in my students. I feel that they've understood the concepts really well, and the concepts build on each other. This is also a spiral math, but it's also a tight spiral, and so there is a lot of review, and so that is one element that I really love about this, in addition to the grading. So teaching textbooks, we will definitely be continuing, and this third grade, and it goes all the way through. You can do Algebra 1, Algebra 2, Geometry. They also have pre-calculus, and then I believe they also have like pre-trigonometry and stuff. So if you keep going, I really feel that it covers it very well. Another aspect that people have complained about online that I've seen has been that they need to work on math facts. And that's something I have found for my kids, at least, that we have to continually review those. And we're always doing the addition, we're always doing their subtraction and multiplication and division. Even with the younger kids, I have them participate, and it's just that constant exposure. And I just really don't think that you can get away with that. And so I typically alternate the days of the week of what we're doing, but making sure that we hit those math drills. And I just think that's something that you can't really leave up to the curriculum to cover. I really think you're going to have to keep reviewing and just keep doing those drills. And I just use basic flashcards. I'm not, there are games and all kinds of things. Sometimes we might play a game, but mainly just 5 minutes. You're just flipping the flashcards, and it's just having that constantly ready, and you just keep going. So that was the plan from last year. So I want to transition to, I think I'm going to share with you my plan for this year. And while I'm talking to you about my plan for this year, explain to you why I have picked the curriculum that I have, to kind of talk about what didn't work this last year. So for this year, we are continuing on with My Father's World for our core curriculum. We are moving on to Exploration to 1850, and this is world history combined with American history. And I'm really excited about using this curriculum. I love the read alouds that come with this, and I think it's going to be a really, really great year, and especially since this year's the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. it just really goes with the theme, and we're talking about that time period building up to there. And then the year following, we will be talking more about the relevance of the last 250 years. So this fits in perfectly with that. I did not plan that way, but in going over the cycle and looking, I was really excited about that. So we will be talking all about the early U.S. history documents, the world history, everything leading up to exploration, everything that was going on in the world during that early time period is, to me, a very fascinating period of time. And there's so much literature out there, so many amazing read alouds. I'm having trouble narrowing down which ones we're going to use. So I'm really excited to be using this. Now, let me talk to you about some of the changes that we are making. So My Father's World recommends Story of the World, and they use that very heavily in their, as a history resource. I have used that for two units already. I used it last year. This does not work for me. I really feel like I like the story aspect. I like that it talks about people's perspective of history. I really love those things, but I felt that it doesn't necessarily talk about history accurately. And it also includes a lot of myths and stories. And I have a large collection of books. For example, it talks about myths or different characters. And I, on the cover is Robin Hood, kind of some of these fables. And I already have so many books on, for example, Greek myths. When we did Greek history, I have the Dares Greek myths, and it's just so well done that I just felt like it was not beneficial for us to use Story of the World as a resource to cover those aspects, because I just had resources already. And if you don't have those resources, you can get them at the library. I found my resources at curriculum sales. I found them at the library. I found them on Facebook Marketplace. I have found them all over the place for very reasonable prices. So I would really encourage you to build up your library. But so many people love Story of the World, and that's great if you do. I just felt I have resources that I just are phenomenal, that it just really fell flat for me. I didn't care for that. I also want a resource that is Christian based, and Story of the World does not check that box either. What I am using next year is Mystery of History, and this is volume 1. To match exploration to 1850, the closest, I will have to use their volume 3, and I am hunting for that. I don't have it yet. I'm just going to order it. But in volume 1, it is, like I said, I really have to simplify, and this is a curriculum that I can teach history to all of the kids, and some of it can be adjusted for older kids. You can even go all the way through high school. So you can have everybody all in one, and you can get all the pieces and not have holes. And it's very similar to My Father's World recommendations, that it is kind of told in terms of a story, but it's also more factual. It can be adjusted for multiple different ages, grades, learning styles. They have crafts and worksheets, and you can just do as much as or as little as you want. And the read alouds that we're doing can go along with that. And now, one of my complaints or things that I don't feel Mystery of History does as well, that I've read about online, is American history, that it's not as thorough as people would like. And so for that, there is another curriculum that they recommend that is exclusive to American history called All American History. And I have not found a source for that for me to be able to look at the teacher's manual, but I have found it online at A-Books for a very reasonable price. And so I plan on ordering that. And that is my plan because it matches perfectly with the exploration to 1850 for volume 1. So that is my plan for covering American history and also the world history aspect, using Mystery of History to replace Story of the World, and then using the All American History to replace the books that Exploration to 1850 recommends, because they recommend at least 4 or 5. There's George Washington's World. There's multiple different books that they recommend in here. And that is a little overwhelming for me to keep track of that many books, and you're only reading a couple chapters out of each of them. You're not using the book fully. And I think it just makes a lot more sense for me to streamline and for us to just do the All American History one format instead of having to use a whole boatload of different books in order to get the same history content and the same history pieces. And so that is a change that I'm making this year in order to simplify things for myself. I already talked to you about learning language arts through literature. We are continuing that, and so I'm moving my kids up to the next grade. Then we are going to continue with teaching textbooks for 4th, 6th, 8th, and my 11th grader. And I'm also going to be using Math with Confidence for my 2nd grader and my kindergartner. Let's see, what was I going to share with you? Oh, the other change that I'm making this year is we are going to be using Berean builders for science. And science and the scientific revolution will match up with exploration. Now, for the My Father's World, their science recommendations are, I believe, botany and, I'm blanking on the other one, botany and zoology. Yes, animals. And that's all fine and good. But again, it's multiple different books, and I just really have to simplify. And they also recommend for 7th and 8th grade to do a different science curriculum. And I have the 11th grader in his own science curriculum. So it's too many curriculums. I just can't. So my goal this year, we're just going to do one science together for all the kids through 8th grade. And my 8th grader is going to participate. One thing that I really love about the Berean builders, the science and the scientific revolution, it's actually a whole set, and it takes you through science and the building of science and the scientific method through the ages. And so it covers all the science, but it's more of covering different themes of how scientific discoveries and history went together. And I really think that is a really unique perspective. And so I'm really looking forward to that. And it's also adaptable to multiple different ages. So each week there's an experiment. And my 8th grader really loves experiments. So my plan is for him to lead the experiments and for him to keep a notebook and have more scientific, more like expressing his scientific discoveries. Whereas with the younger kids, it will be oral for the youngest. And then for the middle students, they will have either a short paragraph answering questions, an illustration, and then my oldest will have like like an 8th grade expectation for that. So I really love that there's very simple experiments for this. It's nothing too extensive, and then it just really covers a lot of science and goes with the history. That I do not have my kindergarten curriculum, but I will be using My Father's World for my kindergartner, and I will also be using Before 5 in a Row with my preschooler. And again, I've already shared with you the things that I really love about Before 5 in a Row. It's a whole series, so we will be doing that with her, and then My Father's World for kindergarten. And I've already shared with you what I'm doing for my students with my 2nd through 8th graders. And then I'm going to share with you now my plan for high school. So my high school student is also going to be wrapping things up, and he's going to be covering American history, government, and economics this year. And so he will be loosely following this. One adaptation that I am making to My Father's World is their history, and they recommend BJU Press. I love Knotgrass for history, and so my oldest will be doing their Exploring History, and this one, I believe this is an older edition, but that's okay. So he will be covering American history with Knotgrass this year. He is also going to be taking dual credit classes for his math and a English class at a local college. And then he is also going to do a trades, like a trade school, where he can try different trades and see if that's the direction that he would like to go. So this is really an exploration year for him in terms of thinking through what he wants to do and focusing more on his career preparations and helping him find what it is that he wants to do. So that is the adaptation that I'm making to this and my plan for high school. And then for science, he will be covering Apologia, and they have advanced biology, which is the human body, so anatomy and physiology. And I would like him to take a physics class, and we were discussing whether he'll take that at the college level or if he's going to take that here at home. But he's definitely going to have the anatomy. I feel like every high school student really benefits from the concept of covering anatomy, especially in today's society. My background's in nursing, and it really is a completely different language. And when you go in, I think you should at least be able to know what body parts and organs that the provider that you're talking to is talking about. And so I feel like anatomy, just having a basic understanding of our bodies and how they work is really, really helpful. So that is my plan for 7th grades that I'm teaching next year. And it's already looking like it's going to be a really great year. And those are the changes that I'm making to our science, or to our science and our history selections, in ensuring that I have everybody all the same for grades 2 through 8, and just really, really simplifying things as much as I possibly can, so I can keep everybody in order and keep everybody moving along. So next video, I'm going to be sharing with you our summer reset and how I do summer learning, and sharing with you some things that I have learned over my homeschool journey of more than 10 years, probably going into my 12th or 13th year now. It goes by very slow, but also very fast, and you can't really keep track, kind of like kids' ages and birthdays. So I'm going to be sharing with you how we do summer, and lots of baseball, lots of different activities, but what do I focus on over the summer months? How do I take care of myself as a mom and getting ready for another school year, another busy school year? And I'm also going to be answering your questions about what works for me as a busy homeschool mom, and how does that work? How does it work preparing to teach so many children all at once and keep myself sane? So looking forward to having you join me. Thanks so much for being here, and be sure to subscribe, follow, and share with me in the comments your questions. I would love